Hello and welcome to Doodle Club. Oh my gosh, that tea went down the wrong way. How are you? I am so pleased you are here. If you are new, a huge welcome and welcome back, you lovely ones. Now, this week in the Alternative Arts School, I'm going to be drawing from the ideas that I did last week on those little monsters. So if you haven't checked that out, you might want to do that because that was fun. And I'm going a little bit kind of sci-fi and robots. And this is because I did this class with some of my little students last week and it was such good fun. And I thought I would share it with you. You're not going to need very much, perhaps some watercolours, perhaps some pencils, felt tip pens, that kind of stuff. But we're going to create quirky little robots. Let's go. I absolutely love teaching children art because they are so imaginative and they come up with some absolutely brilliant ideas. But I always like to introduce a little bit of theory, and I generally do that with stealth because it's the best way. So what are we going to do? We're going to be using some watercolour paints and a marker pen or an acrylic pen or a Sharpie pen, something like that. You're going to need a soft brush and some water. Now, I'm going to be working on A5 size paper, which is like half letter size. This is 200 grams, so it's not too floppy because we're going to be putting water onto it. So we're going to just kind of dive straight in. Now, one of the reasons that I really encourage you, and if you are with your children or your grandchildren, to go straight in with a marker pen is if you go with a pencil, there's that kind of temptation to make things perfect and then rub stuff out and all of that. Well, we're not going to do that. We're going to go straight in with the marker pen. And so that the mark that is made on the page is the correct mark. Now, what I want to do is to fill the page. So the top of the robot needs to be up here and the bottom of the robot needs to be here. None of this kind of tiny stuff in the middle. Okay, this is what we're going to do. And we're going to start off, we're going to do a few of these because I just want to sort of encourage you to just kind of get going with it. We're going to start off with just a very simple shape at the top, and I'm going to start off with a square, and this is going to be like the head of my robot. And then we're going to put in another shape, and I'm going to put in a kind of triangle type shape here. And then we're going to put some legs on the robot, and I'm just going to do some very simple legs to begin with down here. But we are going to have some joints, kind of like knees, I guess. Do robots have knees? I think they need knees. And if they have knees, then they need to have ankles, don't they? So again, we're just putting in some very, very simple shapes. Oh, just making sure that that's all in line. Now, all of these robots will have a character, and this is what I really encourage with my students, is to give their robots characters. And oh my goodness, some of the things they come out with is absolutely brilliant. I love it. It's just so good. And we can have some kind of curly antennae coming out here. This robot is looking a little bit anxious. I love how we can create expression so simply by using eyes. It is just amazing. Right, this robot is going to have 2 arms, but of course your robot could have lots of arms. I'm just going to come out here. We're going to do another joint like this, and I think we're going to go up this way like that. And then I'm going to do like a kind of a pincer type, that kind of thing. We might. And then we've got to have some kind of control panel. That's with important information on. And then we could have some bolts. And we could have some bolts across here as well. We could have some lines as if this is like a mesh metal. And obviously all sorts of things could be added to your robot. There's no right or wrong. I'm just going to put that one to one side and we're just going to do another one. We're going to do this one in a slightly different way. I was just thinking about some of the things that my lovely little ones did this week. So let's change the top, and this time I'm going to give it a neck. Again, all you're doing is building up basic shapes, and obviously this is your robot, so there is no right or wrong. And if you are working with little ones, really stress this, that this is their robot, and it would just be glorious, whatever it is, because it will. It absolutely will. Go, let's do that. Now this one is going to have like bendy arms, I think. Because the other thing that I do is I get my little ones to tell me what the robot is for. What is its function? So this robot's going to have 4 arms, actually. Like this. And then when you get them to tell you what the robot is doing, then all sorts of things start to come into play. And again, that does create lots of great stuff. So some kind of antennae going on here with whirly bits, and I think some kind of grid there. This one looks slightly alarmed as well, doesn't it? I'm having alarmed robots at the moment. Right, let's put some more joints on this one. But you can see that you can just build these up really quite quickly. And this one's going to be on wheels, I think. That kind of thing. And what should we do for the hands? Or it could be like pincers, that kind of thing. Not quite sure what that one is, but you'll get the idea. Like that. So after we've done our monsters, we're going to add some colour. Now this is where what I'm going to do now is a bit of colour theory. So very quick lesson in simple colour theory. This is the colour wheel. All of the colours in the rainbow are in the colour wheel and they all move around. You have your warm colours and your cool colours. And your complementary colours are ones that are opposite. So if we've got sort of an orangey red, then the complementary colour is going to be sort of blues and greens. If you've got sort of a reddy violet, then it's going to be greens. And it's really useful to know and understand colour theory, but it can be a little bit boring. And this is why I do exercises like this, because it doesn't become boring, then it becomes fun. So what we're going to do is we're going to work on the background of this. So we're going to leave the robot as he is, and we're going to go straight in with our watercolours. Going to decide what complementary colours we're going to do, and I'm going to do this sort of like violet and green. So I'm going to do my background in greens. I'm going to go in with a very soft brush, quite a bit of water, and see, this is why if you're using a marker pen, it's not going to run, it's fixed. So I'm just going to put in my green, and I'm going to be using a sort of combinations of green, so it's not all just one colour. We're just moving the paint around here just to sort of create an interesting background. So it's just be going straight in with this background. And it doesn't matter if it goes into the robot a little bit, that's fine. Doesn't matter at all. Let me go like this. Again, I'm adding quite a bit of water. That's like that. I do hope you are well. It's need to do a bit of a weather update. It's still cold, it's still a bit chilly, but then you'd expect that. It's January in southwest England, and yep, we've had a lot of cloud, but we've had a lot of absolutely beautiful crispy mornings, you know, with the frost and all of that, and it's lovely. So always like to know what the weather's doing in your part of the world. So yeah, let us know. Anyway, so that's that one. I was going to put that one to one side, and we're going to have a look at this one. And this complementary colours, I'm going to be doing. Oh, there we go. I'm going to do blues and orange. So I'm going to go in with orange in my background. So we're just doing the background, and you can see that I'm working quickly, and I really do encourage this, and it's what I encourage my children to do as well, because when you're working with watercolour, if you keep going over and over and over the page, then the paper is just going to start to disintegrate. Really, you just want to just do a couple of strokes on the page, and that will be enough. Again, I really like these paints. These are the Analinki Vibrant Watercolours. I'll put a link below. They're very inexpensive. I'm not sure if they're available in the United States or in Canada, but I have found an alternative, so I will post that as well. So you don't have to use expensive products at all to create some really quite exciting pieces of art. Right, I am going to leave those to dry. So these have dried a little bit. They're not totally dry, but that's fine. So again, we're going to go back to the colour wheel. So with this orangey yellows, the complementary colour needs to be violet and sort of purple. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mix a bit of water in with the purple, and we're going to start to just sort of colour in basically our little robot here. Can you see the how the colours work now? And I know I've got a bit of orange in there, but that's fine. We can just blend that one in. Again, I'm just going to keep it to this purple, and I'm just going to do this. I'm going to put in some shading a little bit later, but again, you see I'm working quickly, and if it goes over the edges, that's fine. Of course, you don't have to do this with watercolours. You could do this with felt tip pens. The key thing is to accept what you've done as being great. And I love it with when I'm working, especially with the really little ones, where their fine motor skills aren't very good yet. They're still practicing. And it's just lovely. So I'm just going to put in a bit of orange. See, I'm just contrasting what I'm doing here. And I want them to be fearless, really. I want them to just sort of try things. It's always a little bit more tricky with the older ones, because they start to have all of those thoughts that we've all had, that they're rubbish. And that's really sad. I'm just going to, so I was going to do some more orange just for in this bit here. It's got a little bit muddied because I haven't cleaned my brush properly. And so you can see that that's working like that. And then with the green, I'm going to go with a more sort of reddy violet. So I'm going to stick with that kind of purple, but putting in some more red. And again, I'm just going to go straight in like this. And again, just having a bit of fun with this one as well. And then in my art class, I get my students to name their robots, and then they start having adventures. Of course they do. That's just great. And in my class last week, I had students kind of creating whole robot cities. And we put our robots together and they all had adventures. It was great. As you could imagine. Let's just do that there. So when we kind of finish these off, which I will do with just a little bit of tone, depending on kind of how far you want to go with them. But I just love them as very quick illustrations like that. I'm going to leave those to dry completely, and then I'm going to show you how I use colouring pencils to just sort of build up a little bit of tone. So I've come back to this one. It's dry now, and I'm going in with colouring pencils. These are Faber-Castell, but you could use whatever you want. I have put a link to the materials that I use below. And these pencils are my favourite. They are just wonderful. But yeah, you could use whatever you want. So all I'm doing is I'm just sort of going into the purple with my colouring pencil. So I just want to give it a little bit of depth. I'm going to leave the background as it is. I'm just sort of building up some of the tone. But you could also use colouring pencils to build a bit of texture as well. That could be quite interesting. So I'm just going to sort of push this around like this, like that. Now I'm going to go in with a dark grey over the top of what I've just done, just so he looks like he's kind of a little bit three-dimensional. So just sort of putting these bits like that. And those of you who've watched my channel for a while will know that I do like combining my art practice. So whether that's writing and illustration, or whether it's dance and costume and all of that sort of thing, I think it's really brilliant. It's particularly good for children to understand that these things are all related, and there's always so much to learn, which is why it's just so exciting. You see that I'm just sort of putting in things like that. So I had one of my students this week who was doing these sort of robots, and she created all of her robots. She's kind of like an army, and they were all kind of quite blobby shaped, and another child in the group said, oh, they look like pumpkins. And that was it, really. She turned them all into an army of pumpkins. It was brilliant. It was so good. So you can see I'm just sort of adding in a little bit here, not too much, just to give it a little bit more. So you can do as much or as little. But don't forget that you can draw on top of watercolour You can draw on top of acrylic as well, but it's a little bit more tricky. Just going to make this a little bit brighter. Like that. Let me know in the comments. I'd love to know what you're going to create. Or whether it's just a little bit too silly for you. That's okay. But if you do like it, I would very much appreciate a like. Apparently that helps to grow the channel. So that would be lovely if you haven't liked yet. And if you haven't subscribed yet, and this is sort of content that you like, that would be lovely. Very, very much appreciated as well. So I've just did a little bit with this one. Let's just grab the other one. It's this one. And I'm going to do something similar with this. Let's just sort of pick out a similar colour. And again, I'm just going over some of the details. I'm not going to do very much, but just to give it a little bit more depth. So we also had a conversation in the class of whether robots were male or female. That was very funny. Yeah, it's great. There we go. So I really hope that you're inspired to create some of your own and to create your little stories. Perhaps you'd like to share them with us in the Facebook group. So all the links are below. I think I might just pop these into my sketchbook and then write a couple of little stories about my robot adventures. I hope you enjoyed that. I did. It's always lovely to kind of create little stories around these illustrations, and I hope you've kind of grasped the idea that even if we're just having a lot of fun, we're still learning. You're learning those techniques, and these techniques and skills can be taken on to do something a little bit more serious, if that's the way you want to go. And if you haven't liked yet and you've got this far, that would be very nice. If you'd like to see more of this and you'd like to subscribe and put notifications on and all of that stuff, that would be lovely too. Leave a comment, let me know what you think. And if you want to see some more, you could look at this one, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.